Emily and Tom arrived at the police station, their faces drawn with fatigue and anxiety. As they walked through the doors, the bustling activity of the station seemed to contrast sharply with the slow dread that filled Emily's heart. She clutched her mother's phone tightly in her hand, the dirt from the grave still under her nails, a grim reminder of the morning's discovery. At the reception desk, they were quickly ushered into a small, stark interview room where they explained the situation to a detective. The detective, a middle-aged woman with a keen gaze, listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes. When Emily showed her the phone, her eyebrows raised in both surprise and skepticism. "This is highly unusual," the detective admitted after a pause. "But we will investigate. We need to consider all possibilities, including the disturbing idea that someone might have tampered with the grave." The thought sent a shiver down Emily's spine. The detective arranged for officers to go to the cemetery to inspect Linda's grave for any signs of disturbance. She assured Emily and Tom that they would be thorough in their investigation, considering both criminal and less sinister explanations. Leaving the phone with the detective for forensic analysis, Emily and Tom left the station. The sky seemed to have darkened since they entered, clouds rolling in heavy and ominous. They decided to return to the cemetery, feeling a need to be close to Linda's resting place, perhaps to watch over it, or simply from a lack of knowing where else to go. As they stood by the grave, the cemetery workers arrived, guided by a couple of police officers. They began the delicate process of examining the area, their movements respectful but methodical. Emily watched, her heart in her throat. Every shovel of earth lifted a stark reminder of the violation of her mother's peace. Meanwhile, Tom stayed close, offering silent support. They watched as the workers carefully removed the top layer of soil. After a tense hour, one of the officers approached them. "There are no obvious signs of the grave being dug up after the burial," he explained. "The ground disturbance appears to be limited to what we'd expect from a recent burial. However, we will need to wait for the forensic team to examine the phone and the soil samples." Emily nodded, the news neither comforting nor entirely unexpected. The mystery deepened, wrapping tighter around her with no clear answers in sight. She felt drained, the emotional toll of the day's events catching up with her. As the police continued their work, Emily and Tom sat on a nearby bench, the silence between them heavy. Thoughts raced through Emily's mind about the phone, her mother, and what all of this meant. It was as if reality had shifted, leaving her in a liminal space filled with more questions than before. By the time they left the cemetery, the day had given way to evening, the light fading fast. They'd promised to keep each other updated and parted ways, each lost in their own thoughts. Emily drove home feeling more alone than ever, the unresolved mystery casting a long shadow over her grief. The phone call, the grave, the unearthed phone, it all swirled in her mind, a puzzle with missing pieces that she feared she might never find.